2020-570, approving and authorizing and directing the mayor and clerk to sign the memorandum of collaboration for indigent defense services, which kind of reads like some of the long emails we do get from them. A lot of detail, yes, and there's a lot of moving parts because there's a lot of cities when you look through the contractual terminology, and then there's a lot of collaboration there, so we'll let you explain it.
Okay, well, thank you. What you're looking at tonight is basically what we're trying to do is ask you to approve to let the mayor and the clerk sign on this longer 4-page memorandum. This 4-pager was put together by Scott Smith, who's the city attorney for the city of Wyoming. He's been kind of leading the whole collaboration for the 4 cities that are involved, so Granville and Walker as the funding unit for the 59th District Court, Wyoming and there's 62A, and Kentwood as 62B. And basically what's happening is Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, or MIDC, you've probably heard me talk about that one before. That is a state agency that was put into place back in 2013 to help with defense for indigent cases. And the MIDC made four standards that now have to be followed. They've been implemented and have to be followed at the court for any indigent case. And I can tell you the 4 standards if you're interested, or I can keep going, but it's basically a way to try to make sure that people who fall under the indigent category get the proper counsel and representation in the court system. And as part of that, MIDC offered grant monies to implement these standards at the court level, and we now have those standards in place at 59th District Court along with the others that are part of this collaboration. We have to report to the MIDC on a quarterly basis of cases processed, arraignments, this type of thing. So I'm working with Julie Fend to get that information off to MIDC. Just to kind of help understand how this works, when this went into place, each funding unit, therefore meaning city, had to apply for the grant. It doesn't go to the court, it goes to the funding unit. So in the case of our 59th District Court, because we share it with Granville and ourselves, Granville has to apply for its own grant. We have to apply for our own grant. We have to get numbers from the court split out between Granville cases and Walker cases, report those individually to the council or the MIDC. A lot of extra background work that takes place. Scott Smith, again, who's with Wyoming, has been very much on the forefront of this, trying to get a collaborated effort. And so we finally got to a point where we felt that would work. A year ago, when we started this really reporting, we started reporting in August of 2019, there were so many moving pieces, it didn't make sense to try to collaborate with courts. Now we've been through it a while, kind of seeing how it works. Scott has taken the lead, and we're just kind of following along, and it's been wonderful, to be very honest with you. But so basically, we have now the 4 cities for those 3 court systems has applied for 1 grant with MIDC, and MIDC is on board with that. They actually were very supportive of going that route. So that's what we'll be doing with the grant year that would start October 1, assuming that MIDC approves the grant. But to our benefit, then, Wyoming will be taking the lead on that. So the city of Wyoming will basically be running the show. They'll do the grant application, they'll do all the reporting, they will answer all the questions for MIDC. Everything will run through the 4 cities, but Wyoming will be the point person with MIDC. And to be very honest, it's going to be a wonderful thing for Walker and for Granville as well. I know Tammy, who's my counterpart at Granville, is feeling the same way. It's like we're a bit in over our heads on this one, just from the standpoint of we don't understand the terminology, we don't understand quite what they're after. This way, you've got an attorney for the city of Wyoming who's going to run the show. He knows exactly what people are looking for. He'll call us and say, I need this, this, and this, and we'll just give it to him and off they go. And, you know, we're getting a huge benefit out of this, to be very honest. There's no admin fee that they're charging. There's no nothing. It's just a way to try to collaborate and make this work a lot easier. So we currently have a contract to provide that defense service. That's through the Kent County Office of Defender. And again, because this came together quite quickly a year ago, Walker has a contract with Kent County Office of Defender. Granville's got a separate contract with them. Wyoming has a separate contract with them. Kentwood has a separate contract with them. Kent County has a separate contract with them. And so by going this route, what we're trying to do is get the whole pool together and not necessarily have individual contracts with Kent County Office of Defender. We understand that they're going to apply. We are sending out an RFP for our 4 groups, or for our cities together. We understand Kent County is going to apply, Kent County Office of Defender, but there were a lot of individual attorneys when we went that route a year ago that said, wait a minute, we were interested as well, you didn't give us a shot. And so we're hoping that that will be to our advantage from a financial standpoint as well. And Kent County Office of Defender made a couple of interesting moves when they were trying to look at their renewal in terms of some of the things that they were putting in there that we did not think were necessarily needed, especially Wyoming. I think that's really what got the thing started, because Scott Smith was quite disturbed with what he received as a renewal from Kent County Office of Defender. So hopefully this will help sharpen their pencils a little bit, shall we say. So that's really kind of a brief overview. One area as part of this indigent defense is that they have to be able to do video arraignments from the Kent County Jail. That will be contracted through Kent County itself, through the 63rd District Court. They've been doing it on our behalf up to this point. They will continue to do so, and it will be for the collaborative effort, but also for any others that are in this area that want to utilize that service. They're basically going to run that whole video arraignment thing. So anyway, are there other questions? Am I explaining what we're after, you know, sufficiently? Or
Commissioners? Comments, questions?
I have a couple.
Okay.
So just to clarify, I guess, how are they gonna, once they get the grant, I think this is a great idea. I think it makes a lot of sense for these 4 cities to kind of come together and bid this together, to make sure that we're collaborating on getting the service. How are we going to determine the distribution of funding? Are you saying that that's going to come from like prior year expenses to
Right.
determine the grants?
Yep. So as part of the grant, they're going to write it, but still show the 4 different court systems.
Right, and so that's
what
kind of
they're-
going to distribute or determine how the funds are sent out.
Yep.
And then from there, I guess my question is, does this become a Darryl thing to oversee how the funding moves, or yourself?
Yeah, it would. So far, it's been me on Walker's end, Tammy at Granville's end, Tammy
Right.
Hoffman, who's their
Right,
finance
and I
person,
know
so-
it's something that like the indigent defense system and the new changes that have been made are really kind of tough to follow at times. So you're exactly right. It does make it very difficult to keep track of, and
Right.
it is. I would say that we would be very grateful to the city of Wyoming for taking that on.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of making sure that we're accountable for the monies and our role in making
For
sure
our
that
portion
they're,
of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're,
And making sure that everything is distributed fairly and that we are keeping on top of that and it doesn't get lost in translation through all of the nonsense.
and that's an excellent point. And Kate, and I always forget her last name, from Wyoming, who's the finance person there, she's been well versed in this because Wyoming's court situation is much more complex than what we have. So Kate is going to be the lead accounting person, and so we're actually talking about how you can have it where you can have it as one, but still split it out into the 4 separate taxing, or
Got it.
taxing, but
Okay.
the funding units.
And if there's any way that maybe even annually, there can be some kind of report produced that comes back to us so that we can make sure that we're following along with how that's working. That would
Sure.
be very helpful.
Yep, yep.
And Steve, just to add on to Dan's response to court, so Julie Fenn over there and then Janice May, who's
Right.
at our court, she spends about 2 hours a week.
Right.
Some of the MIDC stuff that goes to Dan and then eventually gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll go right to Wyoming.
Right, so Janice will still do the tracking here, but when it comes time that we have to do our report to MIDC, we'll just send Janice's stuff right off to Wyoming. They'll fill in the right blank for the Walker portion of the 59th District Court and
Yep.
send it on, so yeah,
Perfect.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, and we do have some money in a separate fund for the MIDC grant money.
Right.
When this gets finalized, we would take whatever our balance was and send it to Wyoming. They will keep it in their own separate MIDC fund at Wyoming, but still segregate it and be able to segregate back out how much. Because that was one discussion, is if this thing falls apart, how do you know who gets what back?
Right.
Kind of thing. And so they've got that in mind.
Yeah, and that's kind of my whole point, is just making sure that we're maintaining the accountability to our citizens in Walker on the dollars that are being spent. And
Yeah, because we'll still have an annual contribution that we'll have to give, and so yeah, yeah,
And part of the agreement allows us to have access to any of their records at any time.
Right.
For Wyoming, any of their county
Yep.
records.
that's correct.
And it's a 5-year agreement at this point, tentatively, and we gotta have one on it.
Yeah, that was on page 3 of it. Yeah, so yeah, section 4 and 5 of the 4-page memorandum kind of speaks about the length of time, and that's the 5-year deal. But we do have a way to get out of it if we want. Right now, I can't see why we would, but very selfishly speaking.
All right, any other questions on the MIDC agreement?
Comment again, if I could, just to thank Dan for all his work on this, not only on this portion of it, but since MIDC came into the fold, it's been a confusing effort.
Well, it's been a long year, yeah.
Yeah.
And working with everybody else in the other municipalities worked out fantastic, and we've been getting the reports in regularly at a time, and
Yep.
everything's going smooth. It's all a
Yeah.
learning curve for everybody across the state, but Dan and his counterparts have done awesome
Yeah.
keeping us up to speed.
A lot of thanks to Scott Smith at Wyoming, but also to Tom Chase, who's the finance director there, because Tom has really taken a real lead role in West Michigan of trying to figure out from the accounting, finance end of things how this all works. So he's been a real good resource to call and say, what are we supposed to do? And so I'm really pleased that he's part of this, because he had a big part in that from the finance end, where Scott had the legal part. So we're just in a really nice spot right there.
Well,
I
thank
feel
you.
like we're tagging along, but it's,
Well, thank you to the
That's good.
city of Wyoming, because they've also helped out a bit with the dispatch authority and some of the legal things that we've gone through over the past couple of years. So.
yeah.
And I think the clarity of messaging, somewhat non-existent about a year ago this time, and that was just excruciatingly painful. If the commissioners could see the amount of paperwork you had to do and who's supposed to sign what, where's it supposed to go, and I think we're in a much, I agree with you, in a much better spot.
Yeah.
As long as we can be made whole, to Commissioner
Right.
Gilbert's
Yep.
comment,
Yep.
we're good.
Yep. Nope. And we will make sure we do that. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Great.
I think we are set with you then, Dana, if you want to have a good evening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, well, Dan, while Dan's still here, can we,
Go ahead.
I said, well, Dan is still here, can I beg him to give you an update on our CARES Act funding?
Oh.
Not only on MIDC, but CARES Act up to his eyeballs.
Yeah.
Under my comment, but since Dan's here, you guys, I'm sure the numbers on the top of his head.
Well. So from the CARES Act, from Kent County, we were allowed to apply for reimbursement for PPE related stuff. I just sent in a reimbursement request for about $19,000 to Jeff Dode, who's the finance person at Kent County. So I have a little paperwork I have to follow up with him yet on, but with the Kent County money, it was decided we would submit stuff on a quarterly basis for the whole county wide. So everyone was getting their stuff in through June 30, was due 30 days later. So we met that deadline. There was also monies available through the state, which was CARES Act related, that was reimbursement for public safety, public health, and a few other related employees. It was basically to try to get some reimbursement for wages that we paid. So we turned in for the month of April and May, which was first open, and it's statewide. There's 200 million available, I think it was. And you had to have that in by a week or so ago, which we met that deadline as well. But that was about 725, I think it was, 721 that we turned in. There's also a hazard pay element that's out there. That's 100 million. You could reimburse each public safety officer, so police and fire, up to $1,000. So we applied. There were 81 eligible people, so we did 81,000 towards that. My understanding, and perhaps Commissioner Steve, sorry, could expand on it more. But my understanding is that they were, opening it up for everyone. Send it all in by the deadline. If they went over that 200 million threshold, I'm assuming it's potentially a prorated type thing. I don't think it was a first come first serve, but it was a little confusing because we had a seminar or a webinar on a Thursday, and it was due the following Friday, not a day, but 1 week later. So I don't know if you know.
I don't have a good answer for you at this time. And I don't know that the department would either.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I know they were doing their best, the people on the webinar, I know, and I think it just felt confusing at the end. Is like,
I think the payroll reimbursement was open up to everybody, but I think the hazard pay was first come.
was that the first come first serve?
Yeah, I think you are right about that, Daryl.
I
But
haven't heard anything as far as what they're funding or who they're funding or anything from the state yet. I mean, they've got the acknowledgement of the submittal.
Yeah, it's submitted, and it's been, they got it, so we know we met the deadline. It's just a question of now what, if any, do we get?
yeah, I would say that right now the Department of Treasury is probably scrambling with how to handle the requests because the agreement came down pretty quickly, and then
Yeah.
it was like, well, we're doing this, and
Right, yep.
I don't know that they had come to hard determinations on how all that was.
And that's
gonna-
fair. So the reality, so the other part of that is if you did the payroll part, it's 720 related to the hazard pays 81, and now we just applied for 19. So the threshold for what they call a single audit, which is a federal audit, is $750,000. So if we somehow were granted enough money that we got over that threshold, we would be required to have to do a single audit this year, which would be an additional cost to our normal audit cost. But there again, just an FYI, it's, for that kind of money, if you have to pay a bit for a single audit, it's probably worth the effort. So, yeah.
And then in addition to that, the court also applied for some
Yep.
reimbursement for some CARES expenses in the amount of about $9,000 for some equipment.
Yep.
and
Yeah, Chad,
computers.
right. Yeah, it was stuff really specific to the court, and
And some cleaning equipment.
yeah, so Chad, who is the assistant court administrator there, he's mainly based out of Granville. He did one separate one for both Granville and for the city of Walker. So we're trying with them with the grants, and we'll see.
Well, and I think for clarity purposes as well, we did not factor that into the budget at all this year.
Not at all.
So
Not
money
one.
that we have come in is extra, and I would just, that money does start to come in and we get updates, I think we have to throw, or exercise some extra caution this go around with what could be coming in 2021. So that money needs probably to go into some of our set-aside accounts, and we could discuss it at that point when we know what the
Absolutely.
final pot is. But that's, before we think, okay, what can we do with it, it's probably time to put that away. And that's what really, quite frankly, got us through this summer, was having that foresight to plan ahead, so.
Yep. Yep.
Good. Any other questions for Mr. DeVries? Going once, going twice?
Nice update,
Driven-
Dan.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Dan,
you.
very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. We are at 6:51. We might be able to get through commissioner manager comments, so Daryl, we'll start with you down there.
All right, well, Dan, most of my comments was right there on the CARES Act reimbursement. Just an FYI, we did receive a letter of thanks from the Right Place. If you recall, we upped our contribution to them as a partner for them to do the economic development work on our behalf. So I will forward a copy of that to you via email, or a PDF of that, but they were just thanking us for our contribution as being one of their partners. In fact, last week, Gary and I had lunch with Birgit and Tim Ross from the Right Place, and they expressed their appreciation as well. And, great partners to work with. They like us, we like them. They do a good job and help us on our economic development. So thank you for them. And then really that was it. Again, I had my performance review on Friday, and thank you for all your comments and feedback on the performance over the past year. So appreciate that. That's all I have.
Cool, thank you. Commissioner Kent?
Well, the only thing I guess I'd like to say is that this COVID's kind of like a flood. It's just flowing and moving all the time, and I'd really like to say thank you to staff for everybody pulling together and collaborating with other cities and doing things to help out. So it's a really good thing to see how things are going. So it's great.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Shane?
I don't really have too much, but I did get an email, as well as Carol did too, regarding a homeowner on the trail that is having some problems with dogs being used on the trail. I guess there was an aggressive dog that he felt almost bit him or attacked him. And he was wondering what the protocol is if he was able to carry I don't want to say like a telescoping baton to defend himself. I don't really know what Walker's take is on how we handle dogs within the city of Walker. I mean, it's
Was the dog on a leash, did they say?
that they did not say that. They didn't allude that it wasn't, but I know that when I run with Oscar, he's always on my lead, and I have a double lead leash, so that if I do feel there's another dog or person that might be a little bit nervous, I pull him back on that. And then if I see a squirrel, I grab his ear, but that's for a whole different reason. But nevertheless, I don't really know what I don't know what the city's take is or what our onus is on this.
Daryl, I'm thinking we probably, could we have PD follow up with the, probably ask a few more questions. I think to me the leash is going to be the big tell. If we know who the person is and the dog's not on a leash, then obviously that's another discussion, but.
We have an ordinance that requires your dog to be on a leash and under control. So
Right.
but the consequences of how that gets enforced is probably the other question. But I think your question, Roxanne, is if there's an aggressive dog on a leash, can you do anything about it?
Right, and I don't know our protocol on that.
So I could find that in.
Okay, I'll send you, Daryl, the email.
Yep.
Good. Good, thank you. All right. Commissioner Rowers?
Oh, I participated in the annual reviews for the police chief, the fire chief, and the city manager. I thought we had wonderful conversation and discussion, and I think we're very, very, very fortunate to have those three gentlemen in those leadership positions, and I really appreciate all they do.
Good comments, good, thank you. Carol?
Yeah, a couple of things that I just wanted to clarify. I've had some questions recently, one regarding the construction across the street here. What's going in next to Ace Hardware?
Church.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. And then the other one has to do with, and it just went out of my head. What they're doing on the trail to clean the plants and along the Eastman and whatnot. Is that regular? There's, again, a lot of rumor. Is it regular maintenance along the trail, or is there actually going to be some repair work done, or what's going on with the clearing?
Part of the trail?
I think it's between Leonard and Remembrance.
Yeah, ITC is doing some work, they're doing clearing right now, and then in the fall, they're gonna be replacing all the big power line.
And
poles themselves.
will they be replanting, or does that just grow back
No,
naturally?
No, they're clearing, I think 75 foot each direction from the base of their towers.
Okay,
If you look back on our website, we posted something, it's been a couple of weeks ago since
Yeah.
they started the clearing, but it explains all their project, and there's contact information for ITC if any residents need to
Great.
get in touch with ITC.
I will make sure that that gets
There's
out.
some customer service people that are
Yep.
just for this project.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then finally, just a heads up, everyone, that and I know Mayor Carey, that you are involved in this, the Grand River cleanup is going to be taking place this fall, so a little bit different protocol. I've had some information come through on that. It's going to be September 14th, I believe, and there's opportunity for teams to register and things like that, and they're looking at how they're going to schedule that and break up the sections of the river to try to, control how many people are out at a time and things like that. So not all staged, but there has been some public announcement around that. So if people are asking, that's an opportunity for us this fall. And I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Gilbert? Madam Clerk?
All good.
No, this will be quick then. Gotta look at this minute and a half to go. No, I want to emphasize the right place. Daryl had mentioned the lunch that we had. We're working on potential developments in Northridge and even having discussions around Walker View. And they just, the ability to have an economic development level of expertise that they do is second to none. So they have been worth every penny and then some with the jobs coming in. I would expect to be able to make an announcement probably a few weeks out on some potential up in Northridge. So excited about that. And then last was the DDA. I wanted to give them a shout out after our last meeting here. We definitely are getting some really strong traction there with the business owners and leaders on the DDA, out knocking on doors, checking on the businesses, see how they're doing, providing the resources with them, with the some of the grant funding and so forth out there. So it's been a good couple of months and some really positive change and some good leadership in there. So I'm very pleased with where they're at. So I'm looking 6:59. It's about to roll to 7 o'clock. I think we can get started here. I'll go ahead and call the regular commission meeting to order and ask Commissioner Groders to do the invocation, please.
All right, shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we gather this evening with so many hurting people in this world. We ask for healing for our world and our country. Thank you for our committed staff and the leadership who've done so well on behalf of our community. Please continue to protect those who serve. Our thoughts are with those who faced so many challenging circumstances this past week. Give them grace, peace, and comfort. Please guide our conversations and give us wisdom as we work together to make decisions. In this time of great division and conflict in our nation, please keep us committed to serving with integrity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Wonderful prayer. If you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. If I could ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mayor Carey,
Present.
Commissioner Kent,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Present.
Commissioner DeShane,
Present?
Commissioner Glanville,
Present.
Commissioner Groders,
Present?
and Commissioner Heisinger.
Present.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to approve the July 13th, 2020 minutes unless there's any questions or dialogue. All right, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Heisinger,
Support.
Groders, support. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Minutes are passed. Public comment on agenda items. Anyone going once, going twice? We'll move along. Reports from city manager, I think we've covered, or anything else, Daryl, you're hiding from me? Okay, just making sure. Consent agenda, all we have on this is the expenditures in the amount of $684,963.79. Any questions or discussion around this?
I looked twice. I went through it and I go, geez, this is something. So I went back to it again.
You can sleep well tonight, Dan. Just I want to,
But, so
Well
I'll make
done,
a
thank
motion,
you.
we pay the bills.
all right, motion of Commissioner Kent, do we have support?
I'll support.
Commissioner DeShane, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, they can pay the bills. Next on the list, we just covered this in our 6:30 Committee of the Whole meeting, Resolution 20-570, approving and authorizing and directing the mayor and clerk to sign the memorandum of collaboration for the Indigent Defense Services. Any other questions or dialogue while we still have Dan here? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Gilbert,
I'll support it.
support Commissioner Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, Resolution 20-570 has passed. Next on the list is the second reading of Ordinance 20-655. As you remember, this is the outside seating amendment to help our businesses, our restaurants specifically need right now. Any questions on this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Gilbert, thank you.
Support.
Commissioner Groders, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ordinance 20-655 is passed on its second reading. Any other public comment this evening? Sergeant Frank, nothing? I think we are good. Our next meeting is August 10th at 6:30 PM. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment then.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Heisinger, support?
Support.
Support Commissioner Groders, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.